Alright, here we are again. History of Saps, Blackjacks, and Slungshots. I have a friend who called this my docu-series, and I like that, so the docu-series continues. And look at this weapon, it's great. Really like this one. And you'll notice it's quite different from some of the others. I think this one catches people by surprise, like even within our weapons family. That's how much of a stepchild it was. This is a palm sap, and the first thing that will surprise you about it, although it shouldn't because the name is that, how small it is, right? That's smaller than you expected before I put my hand on there. And that's because it naturally fits in the palm of your hand. It's a sap, fits in the palm of your hand, so it's a palm sap. I bought this one from D3 Protection. I'll have a link associated with the video, and it's a beautiful piece of work, as you can see. You can see the leather work, the quality of the leather. It's really fun to hold, and let's take a look at what this kind of weapon is. So you can see it's kind of a raised shelf, right? It's almost like one-sided, and that's because it's going to slip on your palm. Your hand's going to go through there. The strap's going to keep it attached. You can see those buckles. You work the two buckles to tighten it without having any kind of lingering strap anywhere. And that's it. It's basically an impact weapon that gets held onto your hand thusly. And if you're thinking that's pretty weird, you're right. I think this is one of the weirdest impact weapons of all time. It's just a strange concept, right? Punching is very intuitive as a fighting move. Slapping does exist in martial arts, but far less so. And you can see the lengths you have to go to make this an operable slapping weapon. It's just, again, it's just weird, right? You have to strap it to your hand. You need your other hand to get it on in place. So it's very unusual. It's a 20th century weapon as far as I could ascertain. That's certainly its heyday. Like sap gloves, technically it could have existed before then. But its origin seems pretty obvious. Here's a sap. This was also by D3 Protection, by the way. And somebody essentially said, well, what if I didn't have a handle, right? That's the load up there at the end. And you can see how it just overlays the palm sap. It's like take the load, strap it to your hand, get rid of the handle, get rid of the flexibility. And this is definitely a weapon of contrast. It has some strong positives and negatives. And here's one of the negatives. Got it in place, and it's a nice snug fit, but if I shake my hand just a little bit crazily, like it happened in a fight, it's already coming loose. It's already wanting to slip off my hand. Now, I could make it much tighter so that doesn't happen, but then I need extra time to slip it on into place. So a little bit weird there, not something you normally have to worry about, right? That's what you want. So there's a couple different ways, just martial arts geek here, that I thought of. One, keep your thumb tucked, as it should, kind of any open-handed martial arts kind of a motion. You want that thumb tuck there. That's going to help keep it in place. And then also I like cupping my hand a little bit, just a little bit. See, that's a traditional slap. That's how you might want to use it intuitively. But if I cup my fingers just a little bit, you see the skin curl up, and now it's not going anywhere. So that's my own little personal pro tip. So in terms of kind of empty hand martial arts, there's a bunch of moves you can apply here, right? So you have your driving, palm heel, very popular in Kung Fu and other martial arts. I can't make a closed fist perfectly. We'll talk about that in a second, but I can do a Leopard Fist, as you saw right there, and it works great. It's just going to sit there at impact. I can cup it that way, hit with the back of the hand, kind of a whip block, for those of you who know what that is. Right, back of the hand slap, and believe it or not, that can be very effective, even empty hand. So you can imagine with the load that this guy has. That was a high toe right there, kind of a ridge hand. So any open hand technique, it's going to enhance the power on. And 99% of the time in the old days, it was used for the most simple, intuitive lateral slapping motion, of course. But it is worth noting there are definitely other possibilities. Now here you're seeing obviously just a normal conventional punch. This surprised me. I finally found a scrap of evidence that it was used that way as well. It's like in an old police manual, and it doesn't feel quite right to me when you wrap your fist around it to use it as a fist load. It's just not, doesn't feel like a perfectly tight fist. But again, police manual, I think they had some real world experience backing up that tidbit, so I assume it can be used that way. Personally, I'd rather use a palm heel and let the weapon take the impact instead of my skin and bones. So I think that's another advantage that the palm strike has with this. Clearly, that's where the weapon is, right? One cool thing about this application you can't deny is that it's completely hidden, right? Nobody's going to suspect you've got a weapon in there. That strap just looks like, I don't know what, a bandage or whatever, but nobody's going to think you've got something that gives you, one-hit knockout power in there. I've talked about police a couple of times, and they were the main users. This was an option you had. Here's a snippet from an old police catalog that I have, and you can see, right? There it is. Palm sap, $10. It's even got a model number, and it was just another option to have. And these got used I would say for the majority of the 20th century, a big chunk of it, because even later on, like the 80s and whatever, you can find cops reminiscing about using it. And, they got pretty good at it, right? You had to pick your spots with this. The main application was a, slap to put him to sleep, obviously, and it worked that way. Part of it was that it was so unexpected, right? It's a sucker punch, kind of a martial arts note here. You can slap much faster than you can punch because you don't have to really load up so much, and especially not with this because it provides the load. So quick, empty hand slap before they know what's going on. Their bell is rung. Another favorite target was the elbow. That's kind of a pain compliance thing. This is not going to feel good at all, and that's going to help convince a suspect to stop fighting, and anything like that anatomically. So inside, outside of the knee would be very painful. Collarbone is usually thought of as a great target for traditional saps, the ones with handles and the swinging and all that. It would also work here. So really any kind of bony protuberance that's going to increase the pain. And here's an old police model, obviously part of a collection, so you can see what one from back in the day actually looked like. And as is often the case nowadays, the custom sap makers, like in this case D3 Protection, they make much better versions than the ones that were actually used back in the day. That's just the way it is. It's not being mass produced as part of a giant product line going out to police across the nation, so you get a better product actually today, which is funny enough. You might recall that one of the notable features about saps in general is that they can be improvised. You can make an improvised version, and I came across a funny sounding version of an improvised palm sap, which was a sardine can with lead poured in it. You pour in the lead, you wrap up the can afterwards in leather or whatever, strap it to your wrist somehow, and there you go. And that would not feel good when applied. And just like with its sap siblings, you can get these hard or soft loaded. So this one here is soft loaded, which I really like because to me it's more of a throwback that way, and it makes it even weirder, right? Not only do you have this impact device strapped to your palm, but it's actually a loose collection or semi-loose collection uh, of buckshot of load. And that's going to provide a little bit of a mitigating effect because again, a soft sap is good at delivering penetrating impact and a knockout with far less of a chance of breaking bone, that kind of thing. So in my opinion, this is a really clever, well-designed, effective weapon, but with very limited scope. And that limited scope is probably why these had a relatively short shelf life, right? These did not get used for like centuries, like basically the Blackjack or, a typical sap. So that limited scope, what's it about? Well, one, you have to kind of strap it into place, right? You can't just grab it. You got to kind of fix it on. That's one thing. You can't use your hand fully once you've got it. Which you could say the same thing about a club or a bludgeon, a sap or whatever, but still, once it's in place, if you really need to use your hand, you can't just drop it. It's stuck on your hand. So that's the weird thing there. It has no reach advantage whatsoever, clearly, right? And it does take kind of a preparatory movement. You can't slip this on in just half a second because you want a nice snug fit. And so it takes a minute to kind of work that in there. So you can kind of do that behind your back if you want to be sneaky, under the sleeve of your coat, something like that. But that's still kind of a drawback as well. So it's just not particularly versatile, and I think that's why it wasn't used as much as traditional blackjacks by the police or anybody else. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't more popular with muggers, really, like blackjacks were, because of the sucker punch factor. On the other hand, I should note that these are so small and light, even by our weapons family standard, that they're extremely easy to carry. It just feels like absolutely nothing in your pocket, so that part's cool. Overall, though, I think they're just, a fascinating oddity, a forgotten weapon even within a, group of forgotten weapons, and it's a heck of a lot of fun just to handle and hold and carry around. So, that is the palm sap. Thanks.